The first meal I had with my neck brace off, it was awesome. It was spaghetti. My baby doll made me. And I literally leaned over, Chris, and my head went straight in the plate. And I had to pick my head up. You just don't realize how much your head weighs. And so, like, the little wins were a little different. And your thought processes were a little bit different. And it was cool for me, man, especially as a believer. I started to see God working. And I had a very one-way relationship with God. I would talk to him when I had time. Like, when I had time, I'd work him in. It made me a better husband. It made me a better father. It made me a better friend. Would not trade it, would not go back to go have an illustrious career, man, because there's so many lessons that I learned that God showed me through my journey that really helped me and shaped me into the man I was, that at 21, 22 years old, that I wouldn't have gotten until 30, I think, 35 down the road when I hit a few different bumps.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode here on the Strong by Design podcast. So excited to have you today. Really looking forward to our conversation today with our very special guest, longtime fan of his work, and I think you probably know who this is. If you are at all interested in college sports or have watched College GameDay once or twice in your life, you'll recognize his face right away. I want to say thank you to all of our past listeners for supporting the show and coming back every week and listening and going, as far as sharing episodes with friends and family members, because that's really what helps the show grow and reach more people. And we so appreciate it. And any feedback would be highly appreciated as well. Any ratings or reviews, please feel free to hit us up and give us some ideas for future episodes here. And we just love you, and we are encouraged by all of our wonderful listeners that continue to grow over the years now. So our special guest here that you're no doubt familiar with, David Pollack, is a three-time All-American. He's a former NFL first-round pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, and he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2020. And he spent 13 years with ESPN after suffering a career-ending injury in the NFL. He's a host of another podcast that you're going to have to go listen to now, and I have to add this into my mix. I already have like 38 podcasts I listen to, so make it 39, the Family Goals podcast. He's also a new author of a brave book, and we love our brave books here at Strong by Design. The book is called The Won't Quit Kid, and we'll be sure to touch on that as we get deeper into the conversation today. His mission extends beyond the football field, though, which is kind of what we're trying to do here on Strong by Design. He focuses now on parenting and faith and helping parents teach their children life's most important values through sports. And I'm a baseball coach now for about 7 years, and I just absolutely love all the things I've gotten to teach the kids and all the things I've gotten to learn about myself in coaching. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for me to talk with a high-level athlete and person like David. So David, thank you so much for being on Strong by Design, making time for us today, man.
Appreciate you having you, big dog. And there's nothing that's taught me more about myself than having to coach little kids, and just coach. It's been fantastic and trying and challenging, and having kids in sports. It's definitely so good for them and so good for every kid. Yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. From a young age, 5 years old is probably a good starting point to get your little ones, boys or girls, because I have a daughter who also does sports and does dance and does baseball and does softball and has done soccer. But being part of a team sport from a young age is so advantageous to kids, learning how to work together and the camaraderie and the can-do attitude and all those things that come with it. And I don't know who I'd be today, and I certainly know a man like yourself, where we'd be without all of those relationships and those people who were part of our lives growing up. I mean, I can hear my football coaches in my head in high school. I could see them. I could like picture them.
You can't say the words they said to you though, Chris.
No,
Can
I
you?
can't say those words. I'm kind of an old guy, and so back in the '80s, Pop Warner Football, even they could say kind of whatever they wanted. Although I'm on the football field. The football field is adjacent to the baseball fields where I spent all my time, and I'm pretty good with my I'm loud, but I'm clean. But I'll tell you, those football coaches, they do say some stuff. They're pretty.
Hey, I'm a high school football coach too, so
that's right.
Yeah, so we definitely we are a no cursing program.
Oh, good.
By design, but that doesn't mean it's always positive. And it's just you're so right about sports though, and just man, I've loved seeing it in my son, just like learning how to fail, like learning how to succeed, learning how to give all you have and fail, like learning how to not give all you have and to not succeed and to let your team down and what that feels like. And, the discipline, the toughness when you get hit, having to get back up. And so there's so many lessons, man, that I think only the sport can teach kids at a really young age and teach them how to compete, teach them how to care, teach them how to work on little things and watch them grow and gain confidence in themselves. So, I mean, sport is just, it's just the easiest avenue and vehicle, I think, to use at young ages.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it just makes you better at being a balanced or a well-rounded, I should say, human being as you get older with some thick skin. And no doubt you're going to have a lot of the same emotions and things with coworkers and in business, and it's competitive and it's all these things. And if you're learning that from 5 years old to 15 years old, and then you're introduced into the real world, as they say, as you come out of college, you've kind of gone through all that stuff before. And so it's almost robbery to kids to not participate in those things. So where's your love of the game, of football in particular, but of course of any sport? Where'd that come from?
Man, I was born in New Brunswick, New Jersey, but we moved down south when I was 4. And my brother started football when he was 6. And when he started, they said it was on like Donkey Kong. Like I was 4, I was on the sidelines, and I was running around, tackling everything in sight. Like, I mean, I was all over the place. Like, and my parents were like, dude, you wanted to get in so bad. And so, I had to wait a couple of years. And then once I got in, I was all in. My daddy was my coach, which was really, really cool. And just like in the book, it's Coach Norm. My dad's Coach Norm. So I think it's really cool just to kind of pay homage to him. He was my coach from 6 years old to 8th grade. And he was such a great man that just loved on me, coached me the right way. And I think that's the thing that you're starting to see more of, which is cool in sports. You're seeing more like leading with love. Yeah. It used to be, I got to be a hard ace and I got to get on you and you got to not like me. And now you're starting to understand like, okay, these kids will fight for me if they love me. And so, just had those opportunities, but that's definitely when the love of the game for me started.
Oh man, that's awesome. It reminds me of kind of how I'm doing it and going about it with my own son. Is I try to keep the sport fun for both of us, and I kind of leave it to the other coaches to really get technical and coach him up in different ways, where it gives me the opportunity just to watch him and be a fan of his and do the work at home where we're just throwing the ball together, or we're getting reps in and just enjoying it. And I'm not
smart.
And he's just such a good kid, and he's a natural athlete, and he does everything right anyway. So I'm not hypercritical. And when I every once in a while do overstep my bounds, he'll give me a look, and I'm like, okay, that's right. Let me just go back to being dad, the fan.
I like that. I like he'll put you in your place.
I'll let him, and it's not, he's just a look. He'll just give a look, or he'll be like, Dad. And I'm like, you're right. I don't need to coach you up like that. I'll let somebody, because another coach will pick me up, the guy, guys I coach with. So you grew up with this love. You obviously probably had a terrific, I don't know much about your career in high school, but it must have been good enough to get you to become a Georgia Bulldog. What's it mean to you to become a Georgia Bulldog? And to be one forever.
Yeah, well, I grew up down the road too, so I was 45 minutes from Athens. But interestingly enough, about high school football, I think people assume it was really, really good, and I was really good from the jump and stuff, and I wasn't. My sophomore year, I was stuck between varsity and JV, and I didn't play either. And I went to my coach, Eddie Shaddix, who Eddie is in the book, one of the characters in the book actually too.
Oh, that's great.
Eddie's, and I told him, I was like, hey, coach, I quit, man. I don't want to do this. And he was like, hey, just come work out with me. Like, just come to the weight room. We'll get pretty for the girls. Like, we'll do curls. We'll get good looking. And he fooled me. And I was like, okay. And so I showed up and I started working with him and ended up hitting puberty as a sophomore in high school. And, grew 5 inches, gained 60 pounds. And, man, was football a lot more fun when you're the hammer and you're not the nail. So, but Coach Shaddix, he believed in me and saw something in me before it was there. And that was what was really, really cool, about him and about that part in my life that he played. And then I decided, when I was going to college, my baby doll, Lindsay Pollack, she was my girlfriend in high school and the only girlfriend I've ever had. And, it was pretty simple, Chris. Like, Georgia was 45 minutes down the road. 45 minutes down the road equals good. I get to go home, see her because she was a junior in high school when I was a freshman. She was two grades below me. So that made it a no-brainer. But like, being a Bulldog for life is cool. And you don't realize how much it means, man. You don't realize how many doors it opens and how many people love the red and black. And it's nuts. It's crazy. Grown men bark at you. Okay. So that's all you need to know. Like, when you walk in somewhere and a grown man barks at you, you're doing something right.
That's hilarious. Well, and if obviously you realize that I have a little bit of Georgia red behind me right now. So my office is all glowing red right now, just as a tribute. But
appreciate that, brother.
I can't say that I have become, just by the sake of watching a lot of college football. I'm actually a K-State Wildcat fan because that's where my wife grew up. Yeah,
every man a Wildcat. Let's go.
Yeah, so, and it's such a fun program, and obviously they're having a nice year this year, so it makes it even more fun. But just the Bulldogs becoming kind of that big time team here, and again, obviously they've been there before, but it was all Alabama for so long, it was getting a little tiring. And to see someone else kind of step up and give them some trouble has made, certainly the last 5-6 years more exciting.
Are you sick of Georgia now, though?
No, a little.
Okay.
Not too bad. I still like
sweet.
Georgia.
Well, good. Yeah, no, everybody likes, just like when Clemson did it to Bama for a couple years, everybody was like, oh, change of pace. This is beautiful.
Yep.
I think whoever's at the top, when they stay there for a long period of time, it can be frustrating. But the new 12-team playoff is crazy, and it's kind of changed the dynamic in college football and the landscape, and especially now with people, the transfer portal and NIL and all this stuff. Like, you're not going to see the dominant teams you used to see in the past because people used to go be backups, and now they're like, forget that. Like, I'll go get paid and be a starter over here. And you're seeing a lot of second chance kids, and recruiting has changed because you're not stockpiling guys as much as you were because they'll leave. If they don't play, they're going to leave. And so it's a different world, but the world of college football is definitely more, it's as open as it's been. And like, I do my college football show a couple days a week, and I counted this morning, there's 34 teams that are still in it. Like, in the college football playoff hunt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in week 9. Like, that doesn't happen. Usually we're down to like 6 at 8 at the most. So it's really nice to see Navy and Army and BYU and Pittsburgh and all these teams that are still very much in it.
No doubt. Yeah, it does make it more exciting, I think, and everyone kind of got what they wanted. If you go back several years, this is what they were hoping for, a 6-game or 6-team at least or something. Now they opened it to 12. So I think for all our college fans that listen to the show, it's definitely made November, December into early January that much more exciting for us. So that's fun. Speaking of your long, illustrious football career, it didn't go quite like you thought it was going to go, obviously. Your second year with the Bengals and a neck injury, that must have been, what was that moment like, or that when you realized, like, holy cow, man, I'm not going to be playing football again?
Definitely strange. I told everybody, I told you my love for football started at 4, and then from 6 years old on, I told everybody, man, I'm going to play in the NFL. Like, that's my goal. That's my dream. And I got a lot of, like, pats on the head, and that's so cute. So does everybody else. And, I was definitely determined. I was driven, and I gave up a lot to be disciplined and to be structured and to be successful. And so when all of a sudden in one hit, one play, you break your neck, and I remember they took me underneath after a big hit. They took me underneath the stadium, right to the MRI machine. They cut my jersey off. They cut my pads off, my pants off, and they right there. And they took an MRI, and they're like, "Hey, you fractured your C6, C7." And I was like, "Cool, I'm out for a couple weeks." They're like, "No, that means you broke your neck." I was like, "That's not cool." And I just remember getting in the back of the ambulance with my baby doll and tears flooding, just realizing like there's a good chance like this is probably it. And because I knew, man, like there was two things I really wanted in life. Man, I wanted to play the NFL and I wanted babies. Like those were two things that I knew from a young age that I really wanted. And, they kind of went hand in hand now because you go back with metal in your neck, and I was that close literally to being a paraplegic and not having that opportunity. And it nicked my spinal cord. So I had temporary paralysis, but not full term. And obviously it could have been way worse. And so extremely thankful, but definitely opened the door for new times and new struggles. I mean, you go from go, do, big, strong, almost superhuman cartoon character to, I benched 455 in college, Chris. And I remember the day I got cleared to lift weights after almost 2 years of rehabbing. I benched 135 twice. Like I had withered away to almost nothing. The first meal I had with my neck brace off, it was awesome. It was spaghetti. My baby doll made me. And I literally leaned over, Chris, and my head went straight in the plate. And I had to pick my head up. You just don't realize how much your head weighs. And so like the little wins were a little different. And your thought processes were a little bit different. And it was cool for me, man, especially as a believer. I started to see God working. And I had a very one-way relationship with God. I would talk to him when I had time. Like when I had time, I'd work him in. And to be able to get still and hear from God and grow and learn and go through some pain, man, it made me a better husband. It made me a better father. It made me a better friend, and would not trade it, would not go back to go have an illustrious career, man, because there's so many lessons that I learned that God showed me through my journey that really helped me and shaped me into the man I was, that at 21, 22 years old, that I wouldn't have gotten until 30, I think 35 down the road when I hit a few different bumps. And so extremely thankful. Not the way I wanted it to end, Chris, but very thankful.
Yeah, that pruning that happens in our lives isn't typically by request or certainly the way that we would script it for ourselves. And I'm sure if you could go back and write the script, you'd say, yeah, I played 10 years in the NFL. I'm an all-pro 3 to 5 times, maybe make the frickin', the not the All-Star game. What am I trying to say? Pro Bowl. Yeah, the Pro Bowl, maybe win a Super Bowl if I'm lucky, all these things.
Make $100 million. That's not bad.
Make $100 million. Yeah, that would be nice. And but no, it doesn't go that way. Instead, you get this other opportunity to be on a very popular football show called College GameDay for what ended up being 13 years, which is insane. I can't believe that it was that length of time, because to me it felt like it was a year. I mean, it just went by so quick, dude. You and Kirk and Corso and just the whole crew, and how much fun we all had enjoying you guys. And is there a moment, and I'm sure you have many, but is there a moment in particular that sticks out for you as a venue or an experience with those guys that was just extra special?
Man, there's so many of them. The smaller schools were just unique. When you go to North Dakota State and you're in Fargo and they shut the city down and put the set right in the middle, like right by a traffic light, and everybody in the whole town is there. And,
Yes.
the level of like, they're so thankful for you to be there. That's what's weird, man. They're like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We never thought Game Day ever had a chance to come here. And so I think that those are ones that stick out. Army, Navy every year was so dope. Like that's the best of the best. I mean, it's just our service men and women all in crowd in uniform.
Yeah.
The only show in town, by the way, it's the only game at the end of the year is how we used to do it. And obviously that's changed now, but man, like it was so much fun to see the pageantry and the competitions and all the stuff that they had between each other, stealing mascots. And it was just so cool. And then, James Madison, those type of schools that were just the small South Dakota State, the small schools that, you just never thought you'd be there that were really fun. I mean, we did it on the USS San Diego in San Diego. I mean, we went from coast to coast to all the different campuses, and I've been to almost every campus in the United States. It's been nuts.
Yeah. Think about that. After 13 years and being in a different location every week from late August into December, or into early January for that fact. And wow, we just all loved you and continue obviously to watch because it's such a fun thing. And I certainly miss seeing you on there. That's for sure. But you've moved on. You have bigger, better things going on now. That's
a really nice way, Chris, to say that you got fired. Because
come on, come on.
Hey, my mama all the time. She's like, she texts me again today, by the way, because there's been articles about stuff I had said and something. Mama P will always find them. And she said, you got laid off. I was like, Mom, you can put it however you want to put it. They told me not to come back. So, like, you don't work here no more. So I appreciate the nice, well, we miss you. But it was awesome. It was a good ride. It was really, really fun. I enjoyed every minute of it. And, as soon as it ended, it was like, wow, just how grateful, like how much fun it was. And man, I've had a lot of ups and downs in my lives, and I don't cry because things are over. I always smile because they happened. And I'm thankful for the things that I have and that God's brought into my life. And so it was an awesome ride. There's definitely no, hard feelings, but I definitely got removed. Bye-bye.
Man, all right. Well, you know what? I appreciate your honesty and humility there, which is, but I like how you position it is like you're just grateful. And if more of us could just live in gratitude for the things that we have been blessed with and the chances I try to remind myself on a regular basis daily, like how blessed I am for what I have, my job, the people I work with, my wife and children, and the opportunity to coach and the community and the neighborhood I live in and all these things. And we're always so busy in this loud, chaotic, life that we're all living, to be still and to be thankful. And I'm going to be doing an episode coming up with Jared, one of the co-hosts of the podcast, that'll release on Thanksgiving, talking about those types of moments in our life and how crucial they are to kind of putting on the Jesus lens a little bit and to see our life the way that He sees it. And so, speaking of that, why is it that speaking and talking to the parents and talking to the coaches, why has that become such a passion of yours now in this new chapter?
I didn't know it was going to. I really didn't, Chris, and it started to just kind of evolve. But I've seen so much with my group of friends and with my life and me personally, where sports just becomes the dominant culture. And we go to sporting event after sporting event after sporting event, and that's our family. And I was like, dude, this is jacked up, man. Like, this is out of whack. Like, why are we doing this? And then you realize, like, these tournaments are put on for money. Like, they're making money. So all these tournaments you go to, it has nothing to do with your future. It's not defining your future. It's not going to be where your kid played youth league ball that's going to make them play all of a sudden in college or at an elite level. And so, I started to see that. I started to see men around me that, the kids ran the household. And I'm like, this is also not biblical. Like, your bride's supposed to come first. And like, when you go to the hospital, Chris, and you have we didn't have our baby. When our wives had our babies and we put them in that car seat and we brought them out, they went in the back seat. They didn't go in the front seat. They didn't go in shotgun and your wife ride in the back. They went in the back seat. And that's where they're supposed to be throughout our lives. Like, they're not supposed to get to shotgun where they come before your bride. And so I've just seen all this stuff. And so like, that's been something that has challenged me, and are my priorities correct? And how do I fix them? And so, that's been really, really fun to see. Like, how about this, man? I don't know how much y'all's, your son or daughter does travel sports, but it's a big deal now. And it's a very prevalent thing. Okay. Well, if you show your kid every week that you're going to go to sports, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, and you're not going to go to church, you've shown your kid, I'm telling him how important God is. You've shown him that sport is more important than God. Like, that's what you've shown him. So don't give me the ifs, ands, and buts. More is caught than taught. You're teaching them by your actions more than your words ever in your life. Like, that's our biggest walking, talking testimony, billboard, is us and the way we live our lives and the way we treat people. So, that was just, it started to become more and more of a passion, and finding practical ways to help people realize that, and then finding practical ways to get you and your wife together more, and having more date days. When you come in the house, acknowledging her first, making sure you're plugged into her life, like, and what's going on. And then the kids are amazing, and my kids are awesome. But I ask my baby girl all the time, I'm like, baby girl, who's my favorite? And she's like, me. And I'm like, no. That's my bride. That's my baby doll right there. Like, she came before you and she's going to be here after you. You are awesome. And you are debating whether you're 2 or 3 on this earth between you and Nicholas, depending on the day. But that's my girl. And so I think, challenging men to take ownership of that and to lead the household and to keep those priorities in line has really been something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's important for those kids to see. And my wife shares some fun stuff with me, privately, that just, little memes and stuff about how we need to be the examples of love for our children, like the way we talk with each other, the way we're close to each other or not close to each other, and our body language and all of these things. And the kids are absorbing all of that. And you just have to constantly just be aware and monitoring yourself, because if you want them to turn out the way that you dream them becoming as adults, then you got to set that example in the house. And I've failed more than on one occasion, so I need to continue to step up.
Me too.
So, yeah. Man.
By the way, Chris, I think that's important too, is we got to show them when we fail what that looks like and how we respond. Like, that's right. An important part. Like, a marriage is not always going to be, oh, this is so amazing. Like, I think you'll have seasons when it's awesome and it's so good. And then you're going to have seasons where it's a little bit of a struggle, and that's okay. Like, but it's also, that doesn't mean that I'm disrespectful and that I'm barking at her or snapping her head. But like, it's me and you versus the kids. Like, when she says something, I'm going to support it. It might be the craziest thing in the history of the world. And I have walked in before and we'll be talking about something. I'm like, what? Like, what? Baby doll, what? What did you tell him? Like, in my head, not out loud. And I'll be like, yeah, well, we got to listen. Make sure you listen to your mother. Make sure you respect your mother. And that might be a private conversation, Chris. We might be like, hold on, baby doll. Like, let's talk about this, because I don't necessarily feel that way. And then maybe next time we can come back. But definitely, man, you got to have that united front of togetherness for sure. It's you two versus them.
Yeah. We do put our kids up on a pedestal in some regards, for sure. And I couldn't agree with you more with the club sports and the travel this. And every weekend you're driving an hour and a half to get to a venue. And it's exhausting. And you got to be able to find space and time to be a couple and fight for those date days and date nights and time to be with your spouse, because these next 10 years you have even less time before these kids are grown up and out of the house. I'm closer to 10 years with my daughter being 9. I'm going to blink. 10 years is going to go by, and my car's going to be clean. There's going to be no clay in the back seat. Everything will be just where I left it yesterday because there's no kid in the house to mess it up, and I'm going to miss all of this craziness. But then at the same time, my wife and I, we better be in a good place at that point. Otherwise, we're not going to like being together very much if everything revolves around kids. And
I don't think you just pick that back up. It doesn't work that way. I have buddies that have said that, like, oh, we're really good when the kids aren't around. Like, we get along great. We'll just pick that back up. I'm like, you're not the same person you were. Like, I'm not the same. Like, one of the biggest mistakes I made in my marriage, like, we did the 5 love language books when we got married. My wife was 19. Okay. So 7 years later, when my wife's 26 and her love language wasn't close to the same, and I'm pouring into the wrong love language, and we end up doing it again. And I was like, crap, like that's swing and a miss, And so learning that your spouse, I mean, they're going to continue to grow and feel differently about how they look and what they want to hear and what their love language is. So I think that's a big deal for sure. And you got to date them. You got to find time with just them. And those are important things that if you want it to be a strength when the kids are gone, and you look forward to that. Like, you look forward to that time with them. I think I'm 4 years away from my daughter being out of the house, and
that's right.
That proposition is awesome. Like, I am not the least bit sad. Like, I will be excited because my job is to raise adults. Like, my job isn't to raise kids that stay in the house. My job is to raise great adults that go off and flourish and thrive. And I'm excited about the proposition that I get to be with my wife, and we get to do whatever the heck we want to do, when we want to do it, how we want to do it. And that's, but obviously I'm not wishing it away, but it's definitely something you got to work at now. So it's ready to be, what you want it to be later.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to feed that passion fire now so that it's roaring when the time comes. So that's pretty awesome. So tell us more about this. Where'd this book come from, The Won't Quit Kid? And as I said at the start, we love our Brave books. We've had many conversations over the last few years with Kirk Cameron and Kevin Sorbo and Matt, the gentleman with Trail USA, which is kind of like it's like a Boy Scouts but done the right way. The Brave books have been so wonderful, these stories that are written with real morals and real valuable stuff, because we know a lot of what's out there nowadays is not really up to the standard that it needs to be.
Well, times have definitely changed. Shows have changed. What you allow your kids to watch I think is critically important. What you allow them to read is critically important. And, man, I'm a defensive lineman, Chris. The fact that I'm writing a Road to Children's book is beyond amazing. Like, because that's where they put the dumb kids, see ball, get ball. Like, that's literally, honest to God, where you put the dumb people. But I've seen, like I told you, I've seen all this stuff growing up in youth league sports and screwed it up so much with my kids. And I was just like, man, how do we teach these kids and parents to look at things just a little bit differently? And, 60% of kids now, by age 13 are quitting sports. And I'm like, that's high. Like, if me and you open this podcast with how important sports are and getting our kids involved, well, how do we get them to stick around? And that's the definition of the won't quit kid. And it's literally preparing you for life, for all that stuff, but it's in a football vernacular. And it's really cool because, kids, you're going to experience things where it's going to be hot, it's going to be hard, and it's going to hurt like it does in the book. And how do you teach kids to face that as opposed to run from it? How do you teach them that if you get in the car, Chris, and it's like, oh, that was such a great hit, a great home run, a great touchdown. If you're always affirming performance, you're going to have a performance-based kid, a performance-based relationship. But if you're getting in there and you're like, hey man, you were a great teammate. Like, did you try as hard as you could? I love you regardless. And so I think like the perspective of this kid is, man, I love football. It's my story. When I was 4 years old, I want to play. My older brother plays. You go to play and then it hurts and it's hot and it's hard. And then it's, oh my gosh, like I want to quit. And teaching like how to focus on, let's just have a good attitude. Like, let's do the best we can, not worry about scoring anything else, just worry about doing the best we can and try to win sprints and try to do this. And so kind of formulating thought processes of what success really should be. And I think that's, building a resilient next generation is really important. And like we talked about, sports can do it. And I think this book can kind of give you some good food for thought on that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's now who did the illustrations?
Dude, I have no clue, but it is phenomenal. Like, I don't know who did. Listen,
that wasn't you doodling on like a napkin or something.
No, I actually asked. I was like, I have a buddy that kind of draws pretty good. They're like, nah, bro, like step out the way.
We got somebody.
This is what we do at Brave. We've got the books taken care of, but that was the. It's so, there's so much that goes into it, and you're like, wow, like, this, and the artwork, and then you're like, oh, I like this, I don't like this, and putting it all together and making it work was definitely a process. And, like somebody might see it one way, you see it another way, and how do you respectfully like say, I don't really like that, like that's not how I talk, this is not how I do this, and making it come together was cool. The coolest thing about it, Chris, honestly, is I use names, like I said, with my pops. My dad, Norm, Coach Norm. Eddie Shaddix is the coach that talked me into playing football and believed in me. Eddie's the main character, or the brother's main character in the book. Nick is the kid. Nick is my son, Nicholas. So now my daughter was mad though. She was like, "Where's Leah? Like, why isn't Leah in the book?"
In there.
And she was like, "What? Are you going to write one about me?" And I was like, "Maybe. We might get to that, baby girl."
Let's see how this first one does,
Yeah, let's see if we can sell a few.
That's hilarious. You could have had like the won't quit kid has like a little dog, and then that could have been, but that might have been.
Oh yeah, how would that have worked? Leah would have been, "I'm a dog, really? Like, oh, thanks, Dad. Like, you made me the dog.
The
awesome.
Mascot,
that's what you think of me.
The mascot of the football team or something,
Yeah, I'm not sure that would work real well. Not my household. Hey, mine's sure 14. She ain't 9, Chris.
That's right.
Nine's a lot easier. You get in the teens, it's like, what happened? What are we talking about? Like, why are we discussing this when I thought we were good? It's a fun world.
Yeah, I can get away with a lot more right now. I know I won't in another 4 or 5 years. We'll make sure, obviously, in the show notes, the show description for this episode, that we have all the links for finding a book for your own kid. Like I said, Brave Books are just wonderful, and Trail Life USA is what I was trying to say. The gentleman who started that organization, he put out a Brave book as well. And they're just, every time I get to talk about these, it's always such a wonderful story, and it comes from, usually the person, the author, the real life experience. It's about courage and honor and bravery and honesty. And becoming being able to grind a little bit and being able to kind of get through tough times. And these are the types of books that kids should be reading. They shouldn't be reading whatever the other garbage that's out there in the public library these days, which makes your jaw drop if you go to a book book event or something at some of these schools. It's really unbelievable what's out there. It's gone from, the innocence has been lost entirely.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And all of these wonderful, important life lessons that used to be in books, it's harder to find them. So I'm grateful for what Brave is doing, and for getting gentlemen like you and to participate is so great. Tell us a little bit more about your amazing podcast I'm going to have to start listening to now, the Family Goals Podcast.
You don't need 39, dude. Like, you're good. 38.
I'm good with 38 podcasts.
38's probably good, Chris. You probably don't need to add it to the repertoire, but like it was born from the same vein as the book. Like, just, trying to help parents, help dads. Like I share a lot of my mess ups, man. Like a lot of things I could go back and do differently, and learning as a parent and how to parent, and just like I just talked about the 5 love language book. Well, we also did it on the podcast, like for kids, because your kids feel love in a certain way. And so my baby girl is physical touch, and she's 14. That's a little weird now, but like, how do I now accomplish that? Because I can walk up behind her and put my hand on her and be like, hey, baby, how was your day? Like, that's an easy, simple task if I know. If I know that's how she feels love, and I can still give her hugs. It might be more of a side hug now. But like, those things change. But, we really take a lot of biblical principles and help boil it down to family goals. Like, how can I set family goals? Because alignment affects assignment. Like, whatever you align at, you're going to get. You're not going to be a great 3-point shooter if you're aiming over here, right? Like, you need to aim towards the goal. And so I think it's an important way to help you structure, and we use the Bible as our guide because that's the best book God ever gave us. And that is the playbook for life. Every situation that you get in, there's an answer, and there's a way to handle it. And so, that's, man, I never thought I'd be doing that, Chris. It was born from a closet at our church. Literally, we were in a closet, and we had some things, like some mops and brooms around us, and we were kind of just chilling, and we did a podcast, and we thought about writing like a book with family goals. And then it, next thing I know, I got, Dansby Swanson texted me, and he was like, dude, what an awesome podcast. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, did I do an interview for something? He's like, dude, the family goals. I was like, oh, you listened to that? Like, really? I was like, cool. I didn't know it was like even public. It was out, like, awesome. And, different coaches across college football that I know that found it. Was like, it made me a better dad. And so, sharing again, the screw ups, the successes, and very practical things to apply to your life. Because I can't just take a sermon. A lot of times I get overwhelmed. But how can I put like that now down to one tangible step that I can do today? One tangible step that I can do tomorrow.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with that. There can be so much greatness spoken to them in 45 minutes in a church service, and they're like, dude, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to begin with all that.
Guilty.
Yeah, it's like, I loved it. I have to go back and listen to that, 30 more times just so I can get all of that. But what's one thing that I can start doing today? And I think pastors who can deliver a message and kind of boil it down to a key takeaway or an action step, if you will, for that week, those are the ones that I think have a congregation that is actually going to get some results. And a quick word about the Pollack Family Foundation. When did you start it, and what are they doing?
We started it about 10 years ago. And it's morphed and changed as we've morphed and changed too. And, what's important to us. And so like our next big event is in November. It's November 24th, and it's the Banquet of Blessings. And it actually comes from Luke. And this was born last year. And the name came from Luke, reading a year ago. If you, Jesus talks about if you throw a feast, if you throw a banquet, is what he says in the text. If you throw a banquet, don't invite your friends, the rich that can repay you, but invite the blind, the lame, the crippled, and then you will receive your blessings. And I was like, okay. So me and my buddy were actually like, all right, well, Banquet of Blessings. And so we literally bus in the homeless in the surrounding area in Athens. We rent the nicest place in downtown Athens, and it's unbelievable. Last year was the first year we did it, and it was really fun because we bring them in, and then we had those in need too that wanted to come. Anybody who wanted to come was welcome, and we fed them a Thanksgiving throwdown. Like we fed them appetizers, main course, dessert, served them their drinks, served them their food, and then when they walked out, Chris, there was literally a whole round station. And you got a brand new coat, brand new sleeping bag, brand new gloves, brand new wool socks, brand new hat, backpack, hygiene kits. So a book. Like we literally had a gamut. And the vision with me and my wife was like, we wanted it to be Christmas morning for these dudes. Like these dudes, like just to show up, man, and be like, we love you. You matter. Like you matter. We bought this new stuff for you. Like it's not used. It's for you. And So it was really, really cool. But that's an example of the stuff we do. We gave a car away about 4 or 5 months ago to person wrote in, and we got them a car. They were in need and they needed a car. And that's the kind of stuff we want to continue to do is go into our community, find people that need a little bit of love and that have fallen on some hard times and go love on them and try to do the best we can to help them and help them fight through, help them fight with them.
Yeah, man, that's pretty amazing. Good for you guys. We could all do so much to help those in need. That's what we're called to do as men and women who are Christians, and to show that love, extend that love to the people who feel forgotten or who are overlooked. And I've had moments in my life where I felt like I should have acted in that moment and shown that person. And then there's moments where I do, and
Yep.
And it feels good, but I still remember the times I didn't, and that I could have.
But that's cool that you do. I think that's good when you have that inside of you, that nudge from the Holy Spirit that just,
totally,
I want you to do something. But here's the thing about that, Chris, that I love. When I circle the kids up, because I'm a high school football coach. I coach high school girls basketball. We're all in the community all the time. And so they all come out and serve. And we got 1 million volunteers. That's the coolest part. God's given us an army of people that can help. And I told all the kids, I'm like, listen, you are not to blame for what you have. These people right here, they don't have much, but they were just born to a different family. You're not to blame for that, but here's my deal. If you don't do something about it, you are to blame. And that's the key takeaway for me. And that's why we want to do this so we can build a heart for the next generation. Those people aren't any different than you. They were born into a different situation that they didn't deserve, and they need a little bit of love, and they need a little bit of they matter. They need a little bit of eye to eye contact. And so I think that was really cool. And the biggest thing we got from it, Chris, and this is exactly what you're talking about. My buddy, who's 46 years old, he called me, and I'm not going to cry. I'm a crier. I'm not going to cry. I'm going to do my best to hold it together. Right. He called me after the event, and he went to Popeyes, and out in front of Popeyes, he said there was a dude holding a sign, and he said, just want food. Don't want anything else, want food. My buddy said, I've never, ever, ever went through a drive-thru or ever walked up to somebody and did something about it. And he said, because of that banquet, he said, I could not. And he said, I asked him, what do you want? And I went up to the drive-thru and we drove around and we gave it to him. And I'm like, man, how awesome is that? If that one thing comes out of it, it's awesome. That's right. A blessing. So trust me, I've been in that situation where I haven't done it and I felt that tug, but that's right. Let's build a heart for it. Let's keeping it on our mind, keeping it fresh.
Yeah, I talk about those ripple effects that we create in life, and some of us are throwing pebbles, and some of us are throwing big stones, but they all matter, and they all create a ripple, and they overlap, and they make a difference. And we just got to keep going. We got to stand bold and show our love and spread truth and speak life into people, and it's just such a great way to do it. Is to the downtrodden, the people who have lost all hope, to be able to give them some hope and to give them things more meaningful than just money. Give them food, give them clothes, give them a hygiene kit, give them something that's maybe more helpful to them. That's awesome, David. Where are some of the places now? Obviously you have a website, but where are some of the best places that people can follow you more, what you're doing, listen to your podcast, follow you on Instagram, all those things?
All the things, right? All the platforms.
All the things. Yeah.
I'm not great with them. I'm not going to lie, but David Pollack 47, you can follow me on X, on Instagram. The PollackFamilyFoundation.com is our website, or Pollack Family Foundation, not the. And then David, we just started this, obviously, was davidkids.com, where you can get the book. And so I'm learning all this stuff, man. I'm learning how to do this. Your world, Chris. I don't really know how to do it well by any stretch of the imagination, but if you want more of me, which I can't imagine why you would, you can go to those platforms and you can find me.
Don't sell yourself short. Easy for me to say. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And it's always so rewarding and so comforting in a way to know that there's other kingdom men like you stepping up and stepping out and having a voice and doing such good for the world, because it just makes you feel like, okay, things will be okay. And we just need to keep having these conversations and to keep putting the armor of God on other people listening, that they can do it too. Anybody is capable of these great things. So we just appreciate you, man. God bless you.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
Listeners, thanks again for finding the Strong by Design podcast. As always, I promised you a great conversation. And please support David and his foundation. Check out this awesome, brave new book, The Won't Quit Kid. Again, the link is in the show description. If you want to get a couple copies, maybe they'd make great gifts. Everybody has some kids that they know in their life that would benefit. This is great for your younger boys and girls. And so we appreciate you. And we'll be back next Wednesday, as always, here on the Strong by Design podcast when a new episode releases. Talk to you then. God bless. Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.